You are 24 years old, sitting in a windowless server room in Mountain View, earning $80,000 a year to reset passwords and troubleshoot database latencies for a mid-sized cloud storage provider. Your life is measured in support tickets and lukewarm coffee. Then, at 3:14 a.m. on a Tuesday, a catastrophic kernel panic ripples through the primary cluster, and you discover the Black Archive. It isn't a glitch. It is a hidden partition containing unencrypted private communications, deleted forensic data, and offshore financial records belonging to the three most powerful CEOs in the valley. You realize within seconds that this data shouldn't exist, and the fact that you have seen it means your employment, and likely your safety, is over. You have 2 minutes before the automated sweep logs your access. You don't call your supervisor, you don't alert security. You mirror the drive to a private hardened server you built in college and initiate a recursive wipe of the access logs. By dawn, you aren't an IT technician anymore. You are the only person on Earth who knows that the golden boy of social media is leveraging user biometric data for a private intelligence contract. You quit your job via text, walk out with nothing but a thumb drive, and move into a nondescript apartment in San Jose. You have transitioned from a cog in the machine to the architect of its potential collapse. You are the keeper of the valley's conscience, and the price of that seat is eternal paranoia. 3 years pass, and your ordinary life is a memory buried under layers of encryption and proxy servers. You operate from the shadows, a digital ghost who brokers silence for influence. Your morning begins not with coffee, but with a quantitative assessment of your leverage. You monitor the Sentinel dashboard you built, which tracks the real-time metadata of 400 high-net-worth targets. You see a spike in encrypted traffic between a lead venture capitalist and a shell company in the Cayman Islands. You know before the SEC does that a major AI startup is about to be gutted for its patents. This is the currency of your existence. You don't want money. You have diverted enough lost crypto fragments to live 10 lifetimes. You want the stability of the system. You realize that if any of these secrets leak prematurely, the market collapses, and with it, your protection. Every decision you make is a calculated move to keep the monsters in power just scared enough to obey you, but successful enough to keep the economy afloat. You are the invisible hand, but your grip is beginning to ache from the tension. A crisis emerges when a young whistleblower from a major search engine contacts a journalist at the Chronicle. She has fragments of a story involving illegal lobbying and a suppressed environmental report. If she speaks, the resulting investigation will inevitably lead back to the data clusters you've been monitoring. You face a moral crossroads that requires immediate judgment. You could leak her personal history, a messy divorce and a history of prescription drug use, to discredit her before she reaches the newsroom. It would be efficient, it would protect the ecosystem, but you hesitate. You see your younger self in her desire for the truth, yet you know that the truth in Silicon Valley is a luxury that costs thousands of jobs and billions in pension funds. You decide on a middle path. You intercept the journalist's cloud storage and replace the whistleblower's evidence with corrupted files that look like a technical error. Then you send an anonymous, untraceable message to the whistleblower's private device, a single screenshot of her own front door taken 5 minutes ago. You watch through the neighborhood's hacked IoT cameras as she pales and closes her laptop. You have saved the company, silenced a girl, and deepened your own soul's debt. The consequence is a heavy, cold weight in your chest, but the markets remain green. Risk accumulates like sediment. By your 5th year, you are managing a portfolio of secrets that includes the illicit browsing habits of a Supreme Court justice and the secret gambling debts of a tech mogul who just won a government defense contract. You realize you are no longer just an observer. You are an accomplice to every sin you choose not to reveal. The psychological tension becomes a constant hum in your ears. You haven't spoken to a person face-to-face in 6 months. Your only interactions are through encrypted chats and the occasional dead drop. You begin to see patterns where there are none, wondering if the courier who delivered your groceries was actually a corporate spy sent by the hardware firm you've been squeezing for quarterly consulting fees. You decide to escalate your security. You move your primary servers to an underwater data center off the coast of Iceland, paying for it with a complex web of shell corporations. This move costs you $12 million, but it buys you the one thing you can't hack: time. The complexity of your responsibility reaches a breaking point when you discover a plot by a group of disgruntled engineers to trigger a kill switch on the region's power grid during a high-profile product launch. They want to humiliate their billionaire employer. You have the data to stop them, but doing so would require you to reveal your presence to the federal authorities who monitor the grid. You run the simulations. If the grid goes down, 3 hospitals on the local circuit lose secondary power within 4 hours. If you intervene, you risk a lifetime in a black site prison. You choose to act, but not through the law. You use your access to the engineers' smart home systems to trigger a series of accidental gas leaks and electrical fires in their residences, forcing them to deal with personal emergencies during the window of the attack. It is a messy, dangerous manipulation. One of the engineers suffers third-degree burns. The power stays on, the product launch is a success, the mogul gains another $3 billion in net worth, unaware that his empire was saved by a man he has never met who just burned a stranger's house down. Your progression into this role has stripped away your capacity for empathy, replacing it with a cold, algorithmic logic. You find yourself analyzing your own heartbeat through your smartwatch, noting the spikes in cortisol when you receive a Priority 1 alert. You are no longer the hero of your own story. You are the necessary evil that prevents a greater chaos. You look at the quantitative data of the valley, the soaring stocks, the hyper-gentrification, the gleaming glass towers, and you see the rot underneath that you are paid, in secrets, to hide. You wonder what the exit strategy is. There isn't one. You can't retire from knowing where the bodies are buried when you were the one who provided the shovel and the silence. As the sun sets over the Santa Cruz Mountains, you sit in the dark, watching the scrolling lines of code on your monitor. A new alert pops up. Someone is attempting a brute force entry into your Iceland server. It isn't a script kiddie. The sophistication suggests a state-sponsored actor. You realize that you have become too large to remain invisible. The secrets you hold are no longer just leverage, they are a target. You have to decide whether to purge the archive and lose your power, or to double down and initiate a counterstrike that could de-anonymize the attackers, potentially starting a shadow war between the Valley and a foreign intelligence agency. You feel a familiar, sickening thrum of adrenaline. You check your offshore accounts, your fake passports, and the encrypted drive strapped to your inner thigh. The consequences of your next keystroke will be felt by millions, yet no one will ever know your name. You lean forward, your fingers hovering over the mechanical keyboard. The radio is silent, the room is cold, and the world is waiting for a decision you haven't made yet. The tension is an ocean, and you are finally starting to sink.